Have you ever felt like you are always there for people, but when you need someone, the room feels empty? Have you ever pushed your own rest aside, your own plans, your own peace just to help someone who forgets you the next day? If your heart feels tired not from work but from people, then stay with me, because sometimes life teaches us a hard lesson, not through strangers, but through the people we care about the most. And this story might change the way you see kindness forever. Before we begin, take 1 second to subscribe and join this journey of stories that heal the heart and open the mind. Long ago, in a quiet countryside town where mornings smelled like wet soil and birds sang on rooftops, there lived a young man named Samuel. Samuel was not rich, he was not famous, but everyone knew him. Because when something went wrong, people called Samuel. If a gate would not close, they called him. If a cartwheel broke, they called him. If someone needed help cleaning their yard, they knocked on his small wooden door. Samuel never refused. He would wipe his hands on his trousers, smile softly, and say, "I'm coming." His house stood at the edge of the town. The paint on the walls was fading. The wooden fence leaned to one side. In his garden, weeds were growing taller than the flowers. But Samuel always said, "I'll fix it later." Later never came. Every evening, Samuel returned home tired. His shoes were covered with dust. His shirt smelled of sweat and hard work. His grandmother sat near the window, quietly knitting. She would look at him with gentle eyes and say, "Samuel, your hands help build everyone's home, but your own house is slowly breaking." Samuel would smile and kiss her forehead. "It's all right, Grandma. Helping people is what good people do." She said nothing more, but her eyes were full of worry. 1 week later, the town began preparing for the harvest festival. It was the biggest day of the year. People cleaned their homes, painted their doors, and decorated their yards with flowers and ribbons. Samuel looked at his own yard and said quietly, "This week, I will finally fix my fence and clear my garden." He picked up his tools, but before he could start, a voice came from down the road. "Samuel, please come quickly. My storage door is falling." Samuel paused, then put his tools down. "All right, I'm coming." Not long after, another call came. "Samuel, the roof of my shed is leaking." Again he went. Then another voice. "Samuel, I need help moving these boxes." All day long, Samuel moved from one house to another. When the sun began to set, he walked back through the town. Every house looked fresh and beautiful. Doors shined. Gardens were clean. Decorations hung in the air. When Samuel reached his home, he saw that his fence was still broken, his garden still full of weeds, his paint still peeling. He stood there quietly. For the first time, his house looked like it belonged to someone who had been forgotten. That night, the wind began to blow. At first, it was soft, then stronger. The sky grew dark, and heavy clouds covered the moon. People in the town rushed outside. They tied ropes around their tents. They covered their tools. They moved their furniture inside. Samuel stepped out of his house. He looked at his loose fence shaking in the wind. He looked at his garden pots that could fall any moment. He took 1 step forward. Then someone shouted from across the road, "Samuel, please help me. My tent is about to fly away." Samuel turned. Without thinking, he ran. He held the tent ropes. He moved heavy tables. He helped tie things down. Before he could leave, another neighbor called him. "Samuel, water is entering my shed." Then another voice, "Samuel, come quickly." Samuel ran from house to house while the storm grew louder. The wind howled. Rain began to pour. By the time he finally ran home, it was too late. His fence had fallen flat on the ground. His garden was flooded. His wooden tools left outside were soaked and ruined. Samuel stood in the rain, water dripping from his hair and clothes. He did not shout. He did not cry. He just stood there, staring. His grandmother came beside him with an umbrella and placed a warm hand on his shoulder. She spoke softly, "Tonight, everyone saved their homes, but no one saved yours." The rain kept falling, and something inside Samuel felt heavy, like wet soil that could no longer hold anything. The next morning, the storm had passed. The air felt fresh, but Samuel's heart felt heavy. He walked quietly to the riverside, where an old man named Mr. Elias lived in a small wooden cabin. Mr. Elias was known as a wise man. He spoke little, but his words stayed in people's minds. Samuel sat beside him on a wooden bench. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he spoke softly. "Sir, I help everyone. But inside, I feel tired in a way sleep cannot fix." Mr. Elias looked at him gently. He reached into his pocket and brought out a small candle and a match. He lit the candle. The small flame moved slowly in the morning air. "Samuel," he said, "tell me, what does a candle do?" "It gives light," Samuel replied. Mr. Elias nodded. "And while it gives light, what happens to it?" Samuel watched the wax sliding slowly down the side. "It melts away." "Yes," Mr. Elias said softly. "It does something beautiful. It removes darkness. But while helping, it slowly loses itself." They both watched a drop of wax fall. "Now imagine this candle burns all day and all night, never resting, never protected from wind." Samuel said it would finish quickly. Mr. Elias covered the flame gently with his hand. "You are living like this candle. You give your time, your strength, your heart, but you never protect your own flame." Samuel looked down. "I thought helping people was always right." "It is right," Mr. Elias said calmly. "But if the candle melts away, there will be no light left to give." The wind blew slightly. The flame shook. Mr. Elias said, "Before you help someone, ask yourself one question. Will this put out my own flame today? If the answer is yes, then you must rest. It is only the candle that survives the night that can give light to many nights." Samuel felt something inside him grow quiet. For the first time, kindness and rest made sense together. The next afternoon, Samuel stood outside his house. He was fixing a loose wooden board on his wall, something he had ignored for months. The sun was warm. Sweat rolled down his face. But for the first time in a long while, he felt focused on his own home. Then he heard a voice. "Samuel." "Oh, good, you're here." It was Mrs. Turner, carrying a heavy sack of grain. "Please help me carry this to my storage." Samuel froze. His hands tightened around the hammer. His eyes moved from the broken part of his wall to the sack on her shoulder. Inside his chest, the old habit woke up. Drop everything. Go help. But then he remembered the candle, the melting wax, the shaking flame. He took a slow breath. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Turner," he said gently. "Today I need to finish repairing my house. I can help you later in the evening." She looked surprised. "All right," she said quietly and walked away. Samuel stood still. His heart beat fast. Guilt tried to rise inside him, but he stayed. He lifted the hammer and fixed the board firmly into place. When he stepped back, the wall stood strong. Inside his chest, something else stood strong too. Not pride, stability. Days passed. Samuel did not stop helping people. He still gave his time and care. But now, he gave only when he could truly give. He rested when he needed. He worked on his own home, his own garden, his own life. Little by little, his fence stood straight again. His garden grew flowers and herbs, healthy and bright. His house looked alive for the first time in years. People in the town no longer called him for every small problem. When they really needed him, they asked with respect. Some learned to solve their own problems. Some waited until Samuel had the time and energy to truly help. Samuel smiled more. He laughed more. And for the first time in years, he felt a quiet peace inside. One afternoon, Mr. Elias visited again. He looked at Samuel's neat yard, the healthy plants, and the calm smile on Samuel's face. "So, did the town break when you stopped running to everyone?" he asked softly. Samuel shook his head and smiled. "No, sir. My life finally started coming together." Mr. Elias nodded gently. "When you stopped saying yes to everyone, you finally said yes to yourself. And that is when life begins to change. Kindness is beautiful, but you are not meant to disappear for others. Rest is not selfish. Saying no is not cruel. Protect your flame. Even a candle needs time to shine again." If this story touched your heart, take a moment to like this video, Share it with someone who needs this message today and subscribe for more meaningful stories that inspire the soul. Remember, being kind is beautiful, but your peace matters, your rest matters, your life matters too. Even a candle must rest to shine again. Today, think of one way you can protect your own flame. What will you choose to stop sacrificing for others? Tell us in the comments.